What's Gucci, guys? So today we're going to be talking about Enneagram 2, a complete guide to Enneagram 2, the most jerked off to the most circle jerked Enneagram type that has ever lived. I was about to vomit, but then I decided against it. So anyway, what is pride? So we can imagine pride as almost a passion for enhancing your own image, enhancing your own self-perception and your self-image. So basically it is really just being a narcissistic douchebag. Really, that's all it is. You think you're the shit, and other people should stroke you off to confirm that you're the shit. It's a feeling of need for your self-expansion, of who you are, of your perception, to the point where you kind of try to ignore all the negative qualities you have. So, as you can see, there's some of that delusional nature that's gonna be pretty apparent in this type. And all the flaws and bad qualities you're trying to compensate with an ego worship of sorts, and have other people reaffirm the image that you have of yourself. Now, the Enneagram 2 trap is gonna be freedom. Enneagram 2 suffers from lack of freedom, and the suffering from this lack of freedom comes from this dependence on other people, dependence on that external feedback. Now, a lot of what the Enneagram 2 does is extremely intentional, while at the same time expecting a certain effect, a certain impact on the environment. And then we got the fixation of this type, which is flattery. Now, everyone's wondering what the f that means. Hey, sweet cheeks, you look real cute. Like, is that flattery, or how does it manifest? But flattery automatically feels pride, right? The Enneagram 2 shares their love, share their energy, share their magnitude, their presence, and the flattery they receive from others simply reaffirms their self-image. It's basically a reward cycle. No different than being a fucking crack addict who, again, needs a hit to survive, because otherwise, think about this. Attention is a fucking drug for those motherfuckers. That's what it is. But obviously don't go too far and be thinking all the hosts on like Instagram and other fucking OnlyFans, they're all two cores. Probably many of them are sexual twos, That's the brutal reality of the situation. But yes, guys, attention, that's all it is. Pride is shown, and it's creating dependence on other people due to their altruism. And the positive feedback maintains the neurosis. Now there's approval, right? And the negative feedback can lead to frustration, can lead to hysteria even, or transgressions. All Enneagram 2, all 2 cores, right? All subtypes have an active emotional world, and they will try to influence and impact and affect the external world with their feelings, with their emotions. And that's also why, many Enneagram 2s are very good manipulators, right? That's why there's this mastermind manipulator ENFJ trope going on around. And is it true? Yeah, there's some truth to it, yeah, because again, it's all about impacting the environment in an effective way. So yeah, it is emotions, okay? They will manipulate and control the emotional atmospheres, having a certain impact on it, to then you give them what they want. They then get their fuel, aka fucking attention, and then they survive. How to differentiate the 3 subtypes in the easiest fucking possible way. A more controlled image, almost like sophisticated, with a certain grandiosity and God complex, you're dealing with a social 2. They tend to be more elegant, they tend to be more controlled. Again, you need to understand, they put themselves above other people. There's a certain elevation happening in this subtype. So no, it's probably not going to be a fucking crack addict from the neighborhood street, that will probably give you fucking ass for $10. This is not how it's going to be like. Now, the more tenacious, seductive, a bit transgressive, with the image of a people pleaser, that's more likely to be a sexual 2. Now, the more youthful, quirky, I'm just for fucking lost princess in the woods, almost an image of a kind of attention seeking, it can be SP2. So now let's talk about social 2 in depth, right? It's called ambition. Here we can see the social aspect is really elevated and taken to an extreme. It can manifest as a conquest of groups and the public as a whole. They can present themselves as a hero or the chosen one. Yeah, I know, sounds like a fucking narcissistic jerk-off. I know, call me your fucking pennies. They will present themselves as someone special, someone elevated, someone who can save other people, who can help them, someone with a vision. But either way, almost a very prominent figure of sorts. An individual who has the ability to lead people, to lead groups, to influence people on a more even massive scale. And those fuckers will hide any shortcoming, any flaw through a very narcissistic facade. So this is not a person who's going to really show you their weakness, or who's going to show you their bad qualities, or present themselves in a bad light. They will often deceive or lie even in those areas to hide that behind a very grandiose facade that they will be portraying to the world. Often almost believing like they have very few needs, very few emotional needs even, and they push those needs on other people. And this circle jerk will create dependency on other people, as in other people will be dependent on them through generosity, through kindness, through charisma, through influence. That's what this type wants. Guys, remember, Social 2 doesn't want to fucking depend on you for a fucking Snicker bar. It is a person who will create this dependence in you on them, right? Because they don't want to depend on you. No. They're far away from that. They don't want that. The Social 2 can be pretentious. They can be quite critical when they're not in the process of seduction, of luring you in, of, again, showing you that good side. Pride in the Social 2 is almost delusional, and it's maintained by grandiosity and a complex of hyper ambition. Now with Social 2, they can be confused with Social 7. I've seen that, although there are some really major differences. The SO2 is a type that inspires people on ethics. He uses ethics to manipulate people. This is very, very ethical type. SO7 is a master geek. They don't rely on ethics for such things. They have difficulty with being in touch with those aspects. So obviously you're not going to look at Elon Musk and think, oh wow, what a Social 2. Yes, he might inspire people, but it's done completely differently. He is a geek, and that's the number one tool with someone like that. So now with Sexual 2, and that's going to be Seduction. Okay, that's the name of the subtype here. We're dealing with the most intense two core here in presentation. Very energetic. They can be extremely warm, extremely charismatic people who know how to make impact. They can often be transgressive and even invasive characters who have a bit of a problem with keeping boundaries. Now in intimacy, they can be quite controlling in their relationship, quite manipulative. On the other hand, also very caring, very attentive. This is a character that knows how to appeal to you. This is a character that knows how to lure you in, how to present themselves in a certain way to be the best lover, to be the best anything like that, right? So keep that in mind, knowing how to be bright, how to be charming, how to be charismatic. They also know extremely well how to entertain people. Sexual 2s like to please people. They're very earthly, seductive, hedonistic. They often see themselves as the best partners and the best company to have around. Now with rejection, when you reject this type, there can be quite a bit of an aggressive streak happening. The reaction can be a bit intense. Here the pride is quite invasive, and it is managed through their relationships. So that's kind of it. And I think you can confuse this probably with Sexual 3. I know some people might say Sexual 8. Do you watch Sean Strickland and you think he's a 2-core? I mean, I don't. Do you watch someone like Liam Gallagher and you think he's a 2-core? I don't. What about Axl Rose? Maybe you think that's a 2-core. Diego Maradona, is that a 2-core? So there's a lot of examples of SX8s that you would never really remind you of an SX2. Then we got the Conservation 2, which is Self-Preservation 2, and the name is Privilege. Yep, a pampered motherfucking princess. And being the counter type, this is the only Enneagram 2 who doesn't give to receive. Pride here can be quite literal. This subtype believes they deserve flattery regardless of their attitude towards other people. They're not as driven or as committed as the other two subtypes, which can really result in a very childlike behavior. I should actually say fucking childish behavior. They can be very sensitive towards rejection, very sensitive towards insults or even critique. So it's not a subtype that really deals with criticism very well. Might expect them on the floor crying, weeping, probably making some weird fucking anime noises. Although Ariana Grande is probably one, and there is a scene where she's like receiving a fucking award and she's like talking about herself, how hard it was for her. Oh my god, pamper fucking princess. Bitch, you have fucking millions of dollars. What the fuck are you talking about? Socially, they can also be people who are very youthful, people who are energetic, people who are very pleasant to be around. Now, SP2 can almost be seen as an attention magnet, and when the attention is not being received, I'm telling you, there will be some fucking tantrums that are gonna be thrown. This might look cute on a child, that's 4 years old, but when it's a fucking full-grown adult woman, or actually even motherfucking worse, a man, then you have someone akin to a Homelander who really just wants to suck on a titty and get cuddled by his mom. The fantasy about one's own ego ends up being independent from the environment, which makes this subtype quite sensitive to criticism or any really negativism. Pride in this subtype is maintained by reaffirmation of its privileges. So anyway, guys, if you got more questions about Enneagram 2, maybe some other type, I don't give a f***, shoot down below. Let's get it going. I'm out. Ciao. Bye.